All right, so this is a refresher on our calculator that we use, the Casio. Even if you use a different calculator, you would just have to find the same buttons. I think every calculator works very similarly. But anyways, this is our calculator. So first of all, we have a clear, and I don't know what the AC stands for, but we have a C and an AC, okay? And they're either blue or red depending on which calculator you have. The C just clears the last thing you put in. So for example, if I do 5 plus 7, whoops, I hit the 6 instead of the 7. I could just hit the 6 or hit clear, the C, and it just clears out that last number. So if I put, plus 3, it's going to know that 5 was still in there. If you want to clear everything out you did, I think this probably stands for all clear. So most people, like even I do it, I just hit it a couple times, the AC, and that's the end of that. So that's the one we use the most. I wouldn't even bother with that one. I would just clear it out and just redo everything, okay? We all know the equal button. The plus minus, okay, that's just making a number negative. So on our calculator, that button is right here. If you want to make a number negative, the way I say it is you put the number in, like let's say we want -3. We start with the number, the 3, and then we make it negative by pushing this button. So then there you see the negative. If you want to make it positive, you just turn it off. So you can just keep, here, I'll do it with my left hand. You can just keep hitting that button, on, off. It's like you're just turning on and off the negative sign, okay? All right, fractions. In our calculator, the fraction bar is this. So if you want to put in like 2/4, okay, I'm going to come over here. If you want to put in 2/4, I'm clearing all that, and you saw I hit the AC a bunch of times. You put in the 2, and then to get that little bar, you push this ABC button, okay? And then you put the 4. So this is what 2/4 looks like in the calculator. Now, to see how it reduces, you'd have to hit the equal sign, and then you see it reduces to 1/2. So this is 1/2, okay? And if you need to know the decimal that is 1/2, you could just hit the fraction button again, and it will change it to a decimal. And if you just keep hitting it, fraction, decimal, okay? Now, the one thing about a fraction, that bar, you can also just use a division sign, because 2/4 is the same as 2 divided by 4. So if you put in 2 divided by 4, 2 divided by 4, you'll get the same 0.5. The only problem is it's not going to give you the fraction as an answer. So then you would have to go back and try to figure out, 0.5. If you don't know it's 1/2, you have to keep messing around until you figured it out on the calculator. So yes, you could use the division sign, but this button returns the answer as a fraction, okay? And then you've got 2 and 2/4. Now, to put the whole number in with the fraction, you put it all in like it's a big giant fraction. So 2 and 2/4 we're going to put in as, okay, clear this out, 2 fraction 2 fraction 4. So this 2 and 2/4 is the same thing up here. It looks super weird, but that's how you would do a whole number, or a mixed number is what that's called. And again, if we hit equal, now this has simplified it, so the answer would be 2 and 1/2. So this is 2 and 1/2, which hopefully makes sense, because if 2/4 was equal to 1/2, then 2 and 2/4, the whole number doesn't change, just the fraction got reduced or simplified, okay? Now, in our calculator, we can do parentheses, which are right here, okay? This is the left-hand parentheses, this is the right-hand. Now, the thing about a parentheses, okay, in math, okay, we all know that's a parentheses. They're really called grouping symbols. Whoops, that's terrible. They're called grouping symbols. They kind of keep something in a group. So these, I guess we call them brackets, they're treated the same as a parentheses, okay, in math. And these are supposed to be these little braces. I did a terrible job drawing them. I guess if I tried to take it slower, they look kind of like that. They're treated the same as a parentheses. So that's why this has a bunch of different junk, like it has the brackets and the parentheses. So if you don't have a calculator, the way it works mathematically is, 4 plus 3, 2 minus 1, whatever, okay? You're supposed to do this part first. Like, that's the reason for the parentheses. It's telling you do whatever's inside first. But the nice thing about the calculator, you don't have to worry about what comes first. What's the order of operations, you know? The calculator will do it for you as long as you put everything in left to right in order, okay? The only thing you need to know is that anytime a number is touching the parentheses, it automatically means times. So I usually just put a little dot there to indicate, so I don't forget to put the multiplication symbol in the calculator. So you have to enter that. The calculator won't know what to do otherwise, okay? So if I want to put that in, let's see, okay, I would do my 4, whoops, not 44, 4 plus 3. I have to put the times sign, but then I can put the parentheses, and I put the left-hand one first, okay? Don't worry about what that looks like, because the minute you start putting numbers in, it goes back to looking normal. So I got to put 2 minus 1, 2 minus 1, close the parentheses, so I hit the right-hand one, but you must hit the equal sign, okay? And you get 7. Now, if you did this by hand, you'd have to get this answer first, which is 1. Then you would have to do multiplication next. So you would do 3 times 1, which is 3. Then you would do the addition, 4 plus 3, 7. But you don't have to do it by hand. I'm just kind of showing you just in case. All right. Now, I've got other examples here, but in a minute, but let's go on to, I'm going to jump down. I'm not going to worry about the backspace. That's kind of a funky button. I thought it was cool when I found it, but I would never use it. We have pi. Okay, that's used a lot in the geometry formulas if it's a formula that involves a circle, okay? Because circles, we can't do like side times side, or you know, base times height, or add all 4 sides together. We can't do that with a circle because it's just one continuous line, you know, one side basically. So we use this pi, which if you remember from school, it's not exactly, but it's approximately 3.14. So when you see pi, you can always just put 3.14. However, there is a pi button, and it's right here in blue, okay? Now, this is the one weird button that all you have to do is hit that. You don't have to hit any shift or anything like that. You just hit the pi button, and boom, it comes up with the 3.14. It didn't cut it off at 3.14 because it goes on forever, technically. So it puts all the numbers in there, okay? But if you remember it's 3.14, you can just put 3.14. All right, the last thing is the square and square root, cube and cube roots. Okay, so that's what gets people sometimes. All right, so if we have 3 squared, 6 squared, 8 squared, okay? This is an exponent. If it's a 2, the only thing you need to do is know that this is the button for the little floating 2, the exponent of 2. So if I want to put in 3 squared, I just put in 3, I'm sorry, I'm like behind my phone, 3, and then I just hit this little x2 button right there, and it's going to put the exponent on there and give me the answer. Boom, 9. Okay? Now, just so you know, in case you forget what that button means, whenever you see a squared, it means take this number, 3, and multiply it by itself this many times. So 2 times. This means take the 6 times itself, and you put it 2 times. This means take the 8 times the 8 2 times. So you could, some of these, like 3 times 3, I know you can do that in your head. Most people can. If you start getting to some bigger numbers, you want the calculator. And it's always good anyways to just use the calculator to make sure you don't make any careless mistakes. So if I want to do the 6 squared, now 6 times 6 is 36, so this should equal 36. Okay, so clear, 6, and then hit the squared, boom, it's 36, okay? 8 times 8 should equal 64. So 8, and then hit the squared button, is 64. Okay, so that works great. If it's a 2, it's got its own button. Don't forget that, okay? Now, if it's any other number, for example, 3 to the 3, 4 to the 4, 5 to the 3, 6 to the 4, whatever, okay? If it's any other number up here, you can't use this one. Okay, now remember the same rule applies. This means take the 3, this number, times itself this many times. So you could do 3 times 3 times 3. This means take the 4 times itself 4 times, because this is what's telling you how many times. This means take the 5 times itself 3 times. Whoops, I started to put a 3. Okay, times itself 3 times. This means, okay, again, take the 6 times itself 4 times. So if you lose the track of where the button that I'm going to show you, if you lose track of where it is, you could always do this. It's just, it takes longer, you know, but who cares? All right. So I can do this one in my head. 3 times 3 is 9, times 3 is 27. So this should equal 27 because it's the same thing. Okay, sorry, I'm trying to get the camera right. So now, anytime it's a different number, not a 2, you use this button, okay? You're going to put in this case, the 3. Whoops, sorry. The 3. Okay? So you put in, if I want 3 to the 3rd, that's how you say that. You put in the 3, then you push this number, or that button, that XY, but then you have to tell it, what is the little number, the little exponent? What is it? Oh, it's also a 3. And you didn't say anything changed because they were both 3s, but then I hit the equal sign, and boom, it's 27. Okay? Now, let's see, can I do 4 in my head? 4 times 4 is 16, times 4 is 64, times 4, I think, is 256. I'm going to put a little question mark because, you know, don't trust me. But again, you can clear this out, put in the 4, and then it's not a 2, so we use this button, that button right there, and then we have to tell it the exponent is 4. I did hit it, you just, you know, it's the same 4, so you didn't see it change, equals 256. Okay, so I was right. All right, so we're going good so far. Let's see, 5 times 5 is 25, times 5 is 125. Okay, so this should also equal 125. All right, so let's see, 5, and then it's not a squared, so I have to hit this button, and then I have to put the 3 in, the little exponent. Okay, now you saw it change because it wasn't the same number. Hit the equals, 125. Okay, I was right. Now I think I've met my match on this one. 6 times 6 is 36, times 6 is 190 something, times 6, I'm just gonna say it's like 700 something, I don't know, okay? 700 or 800, I can't do it in my head, okay? So we're gonna do the 6, then do the little XY button, and then put the exponent, the 4 up there, and then when you hit equal, oh geez, I was way off, 1296. Okay, and let's make sure. So if I do 6 times 6 times 6 4 times, let me just make sure it equals 1296. So 6 times 6 times 6 times 6 equals, yeah, okay. Boy, was I off on that one. Okay, so again, this button takes care of anything that's not a 2, because the 2 has its own button. Now, anything that's above in the orange, okay, it's not on the button itself, so you can't just push the button if you want this, for example. This is a square root. To make that work, you have to hit the shift button, just like on the keyboard, okay? You know, it's just like a capital letter, or better yet, like if you're on your computer and, you know, above the 2 is the little @ symbol. Well, if you want to make the little @ symbol come on, you can't hit the 2. If you just keep hitting the 2, you're just going to get a bunch of 2s. You have to put the shift button, you know, on your keyboard. So this shift button works the same way. It activates anything on the top, okay? So probably the only one that I can think of that you would use on the top is this one, okay? Everything else is kind of weird and funky. So yeah, that's the only thing I think you would use. So if you need to do the square root of 25, square root of 144, square root of 1,000, okay? I don't know, I'm just making numbers up. Then what I would have to do, this is a little backwards. I don't start by putting the square root in. I start by, like on this one, I put the 25 first. So on that one, you do have to put the number first. 25, and then to make the square root, to say take the square root of that, I have to hit the shift button, and then I have to hit the square root. So that is 5, okay? This is saying, when you have a square root, just so you know what it means, it's kind of like division, but not really. It's a specific type of division, so to speak. It wants to know something times something is 25, but the somethings have to be the same exact number. So you can't put, you know, 3 times 8. Well, I know that doesn't equal 25. You have to have the same number twice. So it's really kind of the opposite of this. Not kind of, it's totally the opposite of this. Now, for 144, Again, if I'm trying to do this in my head, I'm trying to think of what times what equals 144. Well, I can't put 2 times 72. Okay, now 2 times 72, 100% equals 144, but it has to be the same number. So a 2 and a 72, that's not the same number. So I don't know. I know it's not 5 times 5 because that's 25. 6 times 6, 7 times 7, 8 times 8. I mean, I got to figure it out. So you could sit there and keep playing with numbers in the calculator, or you just put it in the calculator with the square root symbol. So 144, and then to do that square root, you do the shift, square root, and it gave me the answer right away, 12, okay? So in other words, 12 times 12 equals that, okay? But we don't put that. That's just like what I'm telling you how they get the answer, okay? This would be what times what equals 1,000. And again, the two whats, they have to be the same exact number. It can't be 2 times 500 because those aren't the same number. So in order to find the square root of 1,000 on the calculator, clear that out, put 1,000, 1, 2, 3, shift, and then put the x2. Now, you see it came out to be this funky number. That means it's not a perfect square. These are perfect squares. This answer is approximately 31.6. It's not exactly, because obviously there's a bunch of numbers behind it, but they're basically saying it's approximately 31.6 because it's not always perfect. Okay, now another perfect square you probably do in your head is 36. You know, what times what equals 36? It has to be the same number, so you can't do 2 times 18. Well, if you know it in your head, great. Otherwise, you do 36, shift, x2, 6. So in other words, my answer is 6. That means that 6 times 6 or 6 squared. That's what it is. So it's the opposite. That's why I said these two are opposites, okay? So that's how you do it in the calculator. Now, you might have this at home, but I don't know. So let me just give you, I don't know what it's gonna look like, so let me bring it out. Now what you could do is practice all of these problems, okay? These are the problems, and over here are the answers, okay? So you can try every one of these and make sure that your answer matches. If not, you put a star by it and, you know, go over it later, okay? The same with this, okay? These are the problems, these are the answers. Now this one, it was a little typo, so I wrote it up above. And you see, like, I put it, this, whatever this comes out to, when you put this in the calculator, you should get this big long number. This symbol here with the squiggly lines, it means approximately 4.1. So it rounded this number off. Okay, so you could do these, check your answers. Okay, now these, here's your fractions. Some are just put the fractions in the calculator and simplify them. Some involve addition, you know, whatever. Okay, and then the answers are over here. Okay, so you could try those. All right, now, the other big thing I would say you need to know on the test, and I'm sorry, you're gonna see a black screen for a minute, okay, is this, and that's the algebra problems, okay? 3x plus 5 equals 20, okay? All right, so they're trying to say, now remember, when something's touching, a number's touching a parentheses, a number's touching a letter, that means multiply. So this means 3 times some number plus 5 equals 20. You could sit there and keep guessing at the numbers. You might be able to get it right away in your head if it's kind of easy. But the way we usually do it is we do 3, I just rewrite it. I take out the x, I put in a box, equals 20. And then they're just trying to figure out what this number is, okay? And we know that means times, so I put a little dot there because a dot means times in math. And then you'd have a bunch of answers. You know, you might have, let's see, we have 5 answers. Okay, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, if you know it in your head, you just go straight to that answer, plug it in and check it. Okay, so I'm gonna say, I don't know. I'm gonna say I'm no good at math. I'm just gonna try one, okay? If you start with C, it's kind of a strategy if you remember, because the numbers go in order. So if you start with this and it's too small, you can try the bigger numbers. If you start with this and it's too big, you can go backwards to the smaller ones. It could save you some time. So what you do is you very lightly with pencil, and I had a pen there, so I'm going to grab my pencil from over here on the side. I'm going to start with C, and I'm just going to lightly put that number in. And then I'm going to pick up my calculator and see if when I do 3 times 4 plus 5, if it equals 20. If it equals 20, then I'm done. The answer is 4, because we're just trying to figure out what number, when we enter it in here, when we substitute it, will equal to this 20. Okay, so, and I can just put it in the calculator. 3 times 4 plus 5 equals 17. Okay, definitely not 20. It's smaller than 20. Okay, so here's the strategy. Okay, so first of all, it's not 20 when I put the 4 in, so 4 is not the answer. If you remember the fact that when I put it in, it's smaller than this, that tells me to go to the 5 or 6. So I erase this, I'm going to go to the 5. And then I'm going to put in 3 times 5 plus 5. So clear that out. 3 times 5 plus 5 equals 20. So 20, 20. So that means D is the answer. You put the number 5 in there to make it true. You'll see those a lot on the test. And you probably could tell, like you could probably figure that out in your head, but sometimes they are some really hard ones, okay? So I'm hoping that helps with the calculator, but let me know if not.